Hey, Tourpreneurs, it's Mitch Bach, and just a quick note before we begin today's episode. Tourpreneur is currently sponsored by Google. We're thankful for their support of our community, and we are offering with them a completely free course helping you unlock the power and potential of Google's Things to Do program, which is specifically helping tour operators add their tours to Google in new ways that gives you new exposure and more direct bookings. To learn more, go to tourpreneur.com/Google. And as always, show notes, more resources, links to our newsletter, our business coaching community, and so much more are available on tourpreneur.com. Now to the episode.
Welcome to the Tourpreneur podcast. Travel industry veteran Shane Whaley will take you on a journey with fellow tourpreneurs, sharing their tips, ideas, insights, and success stories to inspire you to make your tour business the best it can be. And now, here is your host, Shane Whaley.
Hello and welcome to episode 177 of Tourpreneur. Coming up, we feature a conversation with the founder of TourOpp, Daniel Pino. Now, TourOpp is a tool, an app which promises automated SMS communication for tour and activity operators. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, all right, what's the benefit here for tourpreneurs? What does this thing actually do? And in true tourpreneur style, I asked Daniel to invite one of his customers on, a fellow tourpreneur, and he invited Xavier from Gray Line San Francisco. Now, this particular tool, this is how it's affecting Xavier's business. He says he's increasing upselling and cross-selling of other products via TourOpp. Their reviews went up by 73% on TripAdvisor, 250% on Google, and that the system was able to answer 143 questions from guests, which translates into approximately 11 hours of customer service savings. So you might be thinking, automated SMS, that's for the big boys. Believe you me, I think you might change your opinion when you listen to this conversation with Daniel and Xavier. I want to do these once a month. I want to feature a piece of tech, a tool, or an app. So if you are using a service that you really enjoy and it is truly helping you grow your business or manage your business, drop me a line at shane@tourpreneur.com and I would love to feature that tech, tool, or app as well. Anyway, on to today's show. Today, I am joined by TourOpp's Daniel Pino. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Shane.
And also by Xavier Valls of Gray Line San Francisco. Welcome to the show, Xavier.
Thank you, Shane. Happy to be here.
Yes. So one of the things I'm keen to do on the show, I've been meaning to do this for a long time, is once a month have a bit of a spotlight on a tool or an app or a piece of kit that will help us grow our tour businesses, manage our businesses more effectively. And I know, Daniel, I'm very grateful for your support. You've been part of the Tourpreneur community pretty much since we started. I know you're a listener to the show, and I've always been fascinated by TourOpp and exactly what it is you do and exactly how you can help tour operators grow our businesses effectively. I invited Xavier on the show because Xavier is using TourOpp as part of his business, and I'm keen to understand as well from the customer viewpoint, first of all, why Xavier picked TourOpp and how it's helping to grow your business. So first of all, Daniel, just very briefly, what is the service that you offer for tour operators?
What TourOpp does effectively is streamline the communication between tour and activity operators and travelers, basically. And we do that through SMS. What we do is we connect to the most popular RESTIC systems out there. And because we do that, we get the information, every booking information, and we start a conversation with the client after they booked and until the moment that they leave the tour or the activity. By doing that, we start by sending them anywhere from a booking confirmation, a booking reminder, but also we use that opportunity, that conversation that we're engaging with, to drive more revenue for operators and effectively get them more reviews.
So how did it get started? Where did you get the idea from for TourOpp?
We actually come from the operator side, Shane. My business partners, especially, they actually had their own Gray Line license. in Ecuador and Colombia. And so, it was a while back when they felt like, they were one of the very earliest users of, for example, Tour CMS, right? Which is one of the first, travel, channel manager, company, right? And they just felt like there was still something missing, right? I think they had tried, every single reservation system back then, and they said like, there's still a couple of things that we're not getting, right? And that's where we basically started thinking from the operator side, like, there's actually stuff that we can solve through technology. I'm big on travel, but I'm also big on tech. I love tech, and we actually started out as an OTA, because we said, we can do an OTA where we fill out the empty spaces on these buses that all of these Green Line companies have, basically. And we started out doing that, and it was basically the main differentiator was price. And as we had the OTA grew, we realized how difficult customer service was for both the operators and the OTA, right? We were getting travelers call us and email us and say, hey, I just booked this tour on your website. What's the meeting point again? Even though that was on the website, right? Even though it was on the email confirmation. And, if it was something easy, we would respond, right? But if it was something more complicated, guess what we would do? Here's the operator's email. Here's the operator's website. And here's the operator's website, but their phone number. Call them. We would throw the ball to the operator, right? And at some point we said hey, we've been on that end and it's hard. These are, most tour and activity businesses are small companies, right? Small to medium-sized businesses. They don't have their whole customer service department, right? Just to answer these questions. And we said, we should automate some of that, right? And there's got to be something more effective than email to communicate some of this important information. And that's when we started this was all pre-COVID. We started kind of testing, how communication went with SMS. And, we were just amazed by the responses and the engagement that SMS would create. And just basically any instant messaging platform, you could also say the same about WhatsApp and, a few others. And we were just okay, this is the way to communicate with customers. It's not email. It's not through the OTA inbox. It's not, this is potentially the way. And that's how TourOpp came out. But it was really from the operator side, because we've lived that part as well. We've lived the OTA side. We've been on the operator side. We just knew that it was something that no one was really solving.
Yeah. I love that it's come from an actual pain point that you experience as an operator. And I know you've spoken to many other operators. In fact, you were at Arrival San Diego, and finding out that communication is a big pain point for many of us. Xavier, how did you first hear about TourOpp?
But bottom line, the story was that I was feeling that pain point that Daniel was mentioning. Especially in our situation, we had to, as many of any other tour operator, we had to change our operations due to the COVID situation. We used to have physical shops, one in Downing Union Square and another one in Fisherman's Wharf, that to make the business survive, we had to shut them down. But all the departure points were addressed to those locations. So one of the first things when we started resuming operations is that people started to get crazy. Our customers said, hey guys, you're just sending me to a place that is closed down. I said, no worries. I mean, the bus is going to come. We don't have the means to just change the whole information. So one of the first things that I started to do with the booking department was, okay, we need to start messaging everyone. So in addition to the vouchers that they were receiving through OTAs, through our websites, through concierge, one of the instructions say, okay, 24 hours or 48 hours, we're going to get the list of manifested passengers that we're going to text them. We already had some of the preset text, but it was all manual. Of course, you were doing it fast, but it's all manual. Okay, this is your departure point. You're going to see the office is going to be closed. Don't worry. The bus is going to show up at that time. These are your instructions for the tour. You can select this departure point and the other departure point. One of the things that we changed as well in order to make it more simple, the operation was to not offer any other hot pickups anymore.
Right.
That may sound counterintuitive because we wanted to make the operation simpler. But we realized that the customer experience increased a lot because people didn't like it to be just hanging around on a bus for 1 hour and a half, just picking up the rest of the customers. So we are lucky that in San Francisco, it's a pretty small city. So it's basically considered two different areas, one in downtown and the other one in Fisherman's Wharf. So just by means of offering only two departure points, we're able to concentrate 85% of the hotels that people were staying. And they just had to walk the most for about 10 minutes to meet us to the locations that we were setting up. So we had to fight for two things. First, letting them know that there were no auto pickups offered and the departure points were two. And there were coincidental with two shops that were temporarily closed, but the bus will go to show up. So we were doing that manually. Of course, at the beginning, the bookings were not much, so it was easy to handle. But as soon we realized that it was working because we had less complaints and everything was going extremely. But as long as we get more bookings and things were starting to ramp up, we realized that it was not sustainable. We had to optimize that in a way. No, I was also super pro in favor of the SMS. I mean, I realized even, I don't know if people feel the same, but during the pandemic, I signed up to thousands of newsletters, to thousands of emails. I mean, I cannot catch up with my email anymore. So I'm not even able, unless I find something, I don't get it. So, I mean, I have in my phone, maybe, 200 or 300 emails in my personal one, not the work one. So I felt, the approach to the customer needs to be different. It needs to be to an SMS. People pay more attention to that. Can be WhatsApp. Maybe we can talk about that for other markets. But when people get an SMS, if they want to reply, they just have it in hand. It's easy to handle, and I actually it was the right approach. So when we wanted to ramp this up, I said, I need to find someone that can make this automatic. I mean, I cannot rely on people just typing real messages there. So it was a perfect match for me. Of course, the first need that I had to solve was this streamlined communication. But then there's other benefits that we realized that we received down the road later on.
So Daniel, maybe you can talk us through this. So in Xavier's case, he's got this meeting point information. When he wants to interact with the TourOpp system, how does he go about adding that information?
Yeah, so we offer a web app basically. So Xavier can just go on app.touropp.com, basically log in, right? And he's basically got the control of everything that is sent out to his customers, right? He can modify, so if he wants to send a booking confirmation telling them about the meeting point, he can change that. I mean, let's say that tomorrow he wants to change the meeting point for XYZ reason. It doesn't depend on us, right? He can just go into the app, edit the message, and that's it, right? Like, moving forward, everyone's going to get a different message than they were just getting 2 seconds ago, basically. So he can notify any message at any point in time very, very easily. I think we've made it very simple and straightforward for operators so that they don't have to worry about changes and everything, right? But you can get very granular too. I mean, and I think this is also another example of a Xavier, right? I mean, they've got different meeting points depending on the tour, for example, or different meeting times. And so, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to send a booking reminder, right? Or a booking confirmation to just to every single one of my tours, because every tour is different, right? Every product is different, right? And so, Xavier can modify and customize that information that's being sent depending on the product, basically. So it's just a matter of going online, truly.
And adding it per tour, per experience, the meeting point information.
That's right.
I also understand that from the first month of using TourOpp, you got 13 direct bookings from cross-selling.
Yeah, that's totally true. I mean, we are one of the strategies that we need to test out is once these customers are coming and they already had a booking confirmed, we are confirming the departure location. And then there is one important thing to say about, because people have some concerns about that. We, before starting all this change of SMS that we're going to talk about, we ask for confirmation or approval for our customers. So if they don't want to have, we just have the first message as welcoming. Hey, this is an automatic communication for your current tour. If you're going to receive those informations, please accept it. So there is no intrusion. There is no I mean, you're not spamming their customers in a way, or they accept it and they can stop it anytime. So
yeah. Daniel, do you have any idea of what percentage of people say, I think you text back stop or something, right? So then what's that percentage like? Do you know?
97% overall will say okay. Only 3% of them will say stop. So yeah, most people will not find it intrusive, I will say. And so what Xavier was talking about, it's not something just unique to Xavier. In that regard, it's most of our customers who choose to kind of like what we call it is like a double opt-in, right? So like they'll add some wording on their website saying like, hey, by booking this, you agree to receive, text messages sent to your number with important and relevant information related to your activity or your tour, right? But even though there's that wording, and people just won't read it, right? And so what we choose to do is, obviously San Francisco is in California. California has some very strict privacy laws around, what you can and cannot do in terms of marketing. And so basically the system is designed to not send anything until the customer says, okay, yes, I accept, I want to receive these messages. And we also work with operators so that, there's not too many messages being sent out, right? You don't want that. There's not messages going out after the tour's over. I feel like, what I usually recommend to operators, like, engage with the customer. Like, I think it's fair game for everyone, right? Like, you want to tell the customer about these other things that you also offered, like all these other cool things that you're doing, right? Do that before they come in, engage with them when they're on the tour. We can even engage with them and tell them, hey, follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter, all of that, so that you can maintain that long-term relationship. But, try not, or like after they leave, like ask for a review and then that's it, like tell them goodbye, right? So in that sound too intrusive.
Yeah, no, I just asked that question because I think with most kind of messages I get like that, I'll put stop because, it's like the pizza delivery when I add you to the text. But with my tour, I want the information because I've paid good money for it. I might only be in San Francisco for 2 days. I don't want to mess up the meeting points or be running late or miss out. So it's right. I'm not surprised it's only a very few that actually say, don't send me anything because we all want that information. Yeah. I am interested in so we've had the meeting point, which is important for that communication and efficiency. But then also I'm really fascinated in the cross-selling aspect of this. And maybe you can both talk to that, I think one of the biggest struggles we have as tourpreneurs is discovery. So I might be booking the Yosemite tour with you, Xavier, but not be aware that you do a food walking tour.
Correct.
So getting that information, we're like, oh, the same guys are offering this tour. Let's look at that. So I imagine that cross-selling is very powerful via this medium.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it is. It's been like, I would say almost 2 months, and the numbers, I would say that are even bigger. So one of the messages that we say pre-trip, I guess that we have set it up 5 days prior, is just a normal one. And the one that it was just a normal conversation I would have over the phone. And I asked my booking team to have, once someone calls you to confirm something and said, hey, for how long are you going to stay here? These are the other things that we can do. And of course, your current customers, you can get to X discount if you book with us, because you already are a customer and we appreciate you giving your business. So yeah, it's at the end of the day, when I try to think about technology, it's just trying to mirror what we are doing in normal life and just trying to put in the system. So what you're trying to do when you're on the phone, let's reply that on a text message. Good thing about that is that you end up investing your time, so everything goes behind the scenes, right? So, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and just to add on that, basically, so the way that in Xavier's account or in Good in San Francisco's account is working is that they're tracking, they know how many bookings they've gotten, right? So they got like you said, right? They got about 13. This is Xavier's word, right? About 13 bookings on the first month. We're using those, and they can track that because they're using a specific code, like a promo code. Basically, I think they're offering like 10% off. To anyone who books directly on their second tour, right? This is someone who's booked their first tour, right? And then someone wants to book a second tour. Then we're saying, yeah, I mean, here's a promo code for that second tour you got. Valid only on our website. So we do get them more direct bookings in that regard. But it's very trackable, right? Then we also have some operators and clients who say, I don't want to give out discounts. I mean, it's everyone's choice, right? In which case there's always the option of adding like a UTM, Google Analytics tracking code, and they're big Google Analytics people, right? They can still see it. Even if you don't offer a promo code, you can still track how many extra bookings you're going to get, right? Typically we see, Shane, anywhere from 7 to 12% of people who get this text message book either another tour or upsell their activity. So I don't think that might be Xavier's case, but another for other operators, it might not be booking another tour, but it might be, hey, we offered the premium experience or the premium version of the tour, and then that upsell. So from our statistics, anywhere from 7 to 12%, are doing this. And I think in Xavier's case, it was about 9% of them who were effectively doing this. So it's just about, right on target. The last thing I'll say in that regard is that, we try to get that, that recommendation to be very customized, right? So we try to think of it as Netflix, right? I mean, I don't have kids yet. So if Netflix would tell me like, hey, what's this, I don't know, like animated show, it's probably not going to be very relevant for me, right? Yeah. Same thing happens with, I think, a lot of tour and activity operators, right? So, if Xavier has that, like a morning tour, right? We're not going to offer the morning tour again, or just say, hey, look at our website. Like that's too generic, right? That doesn't convert. What we can say is, hey, you've taken the morning tour. Here's a tour that runs just after that. If you have got the afternoon free, and then that's when the magic happens, really.
I love that, because this is, as a traveler myself, I spend so much time trying to plan in my tours because, that starts at 11, that one starts at 12, and you're trying to, juggle them around. So having that directly, that, hey, here's an afternoon tour, it fits with your schedule, I can see how that can help with conversion.
Yeah. And, and that can be done in very multiple different ways, right? I mean, it's really a matter of like where you want to take it, really. I think a lot of sometimes we talk to operators, and operators are, I think people that are like I'm an operator myself. I consider myself an operator because we still hold part of that rail line license in Ecuador and Colombia, and so like I still feel part of like the operator side as well, right? And we're I think the operator industry is like very passionate, right? You just got to be passionate. Like I think you said it yourself one time on the Facebook group, like who's in this to make money? Like, not a lot of them responded to that. I don't think you're like, yes, I want to become rich or a millionaire, I'm going to be an operator. Like that's not really the case. So when we talk to operators, it's often the case that they'll say, I don't know about that. Cause I don't want to be like that pushy salesperson, like offering other tours. And, I think what we tell them is there's a difference between like pushing out and like just pushing your brand, pushing your website, like pushing your tours and saying, hey, I think you would benefit from this, and like giving them authentic recommendations on other things they can do. And it doesn't even need to be like their own tours or activities. I mean, we've got operators who are promoting other operators' tours, right? Other or attractions and things to do, so if it's a genuine and valuable recommendation, yes, it might, bring extra revenue, but it's not, the customer is not going to reject it, right? They're going to appreciate it instead.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got communication with messaging. We've got cross-selling. The next topic I want to discuss, the next feature, or actually the next benefit of TourOpp is reviews. So how are you using this to increase reviews, Xavier?
Well, there is the last message that, as Daniel said, is that I think that we said it one day after the activity is concluded. So it's just a simple message says, please review our experience from 1 to 5. And then the cool thing about that is that we can automatize the answer to that rate depending on the output, right? So if they give us 4 or 5, we just give them a message back, say, please review the experience. Happy to hear that you like the experience. And hopefully you come back to see us again soon and blah, blah, blah. And then definitely, if you're putting, it's just a link that you're putting them, so it's just another click so they can review it pretty fast. In the event that you get a rating from 1 to 3, you ask them to, you don't give them the link to review it. So you ask them to call you. Please call me and let me know what I did wrong so I can improve it for the next customers. I mean, that's the way, again, that's what you would do if you were talking over the phone with a customer. Say, please, you like it, please review me. But we're making it easier because it's just a one click away for them to leave a review. And if they don't like it, we push them to call us. And you can imagine it's not easy, but even we can track this conversation in the platform. So even we can be proactive ourselves and call them and say, hey guys, what didn't work out well there? Maybe because not just to avoid a review, which is not the end goal, is just to improve the customer experience, because maybe it's going to be back on a tour the following 2 days, or maybe we did something wrong that we can fix. And it's all a continuous learning process.
And in terms of the link for reviews, is that going to TripAdvisor or Google, or is it going to both? How are you setting that up?
We offer them both. TripAdvisor and Google, yeah.
And that's a good strategy, Shane, from what we've seen, basically. So, just to speak numbers, I'm a big numbers guy, Shane, and Xavier can tell you that. So one of the things that we like to do is, that we do for all of our clients is, at the end of every month, we send them a report, telling them not just how many messages they send or, how many conversations happen, but also like how many clicks they got on that recommendation link they said. How many people are clicking on that review link, right? We're tracking all of that. So you can tell whether this is working or not, right? So the first month that, Javier, if you allow me to share that, first month, Xavier got a 73% increase in reviews on TripAdvisor, and then a 250% increase of reviews in Google.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think he's spot on, right? With sending the two of them. Sometimes customers like operators will say, I only want to send them to Google. I only want to send them to TripAdvisor. We try to recommend them to use at least two, because there's people who don't even have TripAdvisor accounts. I mean, it's like, I don't even know where my TripAdvisor password is, right? But I'm sending them to Google because I have an Android, right? So for me, a Google review, it's like, it's just like that. So it really depends on the client. So I think a lot of people will feel more comfortable with one or the other, right? I think that's the recommendation. Just in general, like whether you use SMS or not, like try to give your customer a couple of options too, right?
Yeah, and there's a shocking admission, and I know that our listeners are going to be really disappointed in me in this. I went on a couple of tours 2 weeks or so ago, and I haven't left them reviews yet. And normally I'm really good at it because I know how important they are. But maybe had I got that text, I'd go, oh yeah, must do that. But it's like on my long list of things to do. And I work in the industry, right? I work with you all. You could imagine if someone's just traveling, it's like they don't know the importance of reviews. So without that prompting on their phone, I can see why this is very powerful and why those numbers, 73% and 250% increases on the platforms. I can see why, because you're nudging people to do it.
Well, I got to reach out to Scott's Pizza Tours, because I know that was one.
Yeah, that definitely was one. And that's been on my list, that's on my to-do. And I actually wanted to record a review on the show as well, but I just haven't got around to leaving him his review. I'll do that right after we're done here. So I don't want any hate mail coming my way.
Yeah, you've got the intentions. I mean, it's happened to all of us, right? I mean, you're like, you leave the tour and you're like, that was such a great tour guide. Man, I'm gonna, she deserves a review, like a 5-star review, like. And then, you go to dinner, then, like next day you're doing something else, then you're, back home, and then you're back on work, and suddenly you're like, man, I never. But the thing is, it's a struggle, right? Because when you want to do that, right, you got to go in, Google the name of the operator, if you still remember that, which in your case, I'm sure you do, right? But for a lot of operators, like the name of the operator, right? Like it's just blown up to say, what was the name of the operator again? And then it's so hard that then it's just like, you know what, like, I'm sorry, but it's going to be fine for that.
You hear a lot about Arrival on this podcast. It's the conference designed for tourpreneurs just like you. The Arrival conference features so many practical sessions to help operators with direct bookings, digital marketing, tour and experience design, business operations, and so much more. You'll also get to connect with great people from OTAs, technology companies, marketing experts, and get inspired to grow your business in the year ahead. What we love most about Arrival is seeing operators and tourpreneurs, large and small, meeting each other and building new friendships and partnerships, seeing them share their stories and their learnings. This is what makes Arrival so special. So why not join Shane and many other tourpreneurs in Las Vegas, October 10 to 13 at Arrival, the event where operators, attractions and experience creators learn, connect and grow. Find out more at www.arrival.travel.
So the fourth benefit I want to discuss is you said that the system was able to prevent 143 questions from customers, which translates into approximately, almost 11 hours of customer service savings. Wow. That's a lot of savings, Xavier.
Yeah, I can tell. Imagine what I was explaining. I was asking the guys to text everyone manually. So that was requiring first getting the manifest list for all the SMS messengers, put them on a predefined text that we already put together, but it takes time. And one good thing that we didn't mention here, and it looks like I'm getting paid for that, but it's not. So there is there is a kind of a bot as well. So you can predefine some questions to specific answers.
Right. It's
not just a one direction tool. So even the customer, once they receive the message of the department points, it's going to be, typical question for our wine tour. Are all the wine tastings included? You put it all over the plate, in the description, in the vouchers. People still have questions. Then you can predefine that answer. Yes, all the wine tastings are included. Can I know which are the wineries that we're going to visit? These are the wineries that you're going to visit. Blah, 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 blah. And these are, of course, questions that you don't have, emails that you don't receive and calls that you don't get. Of course, it's more time to do other things. It's not just to lay off people. It's just to just review your products, think about other things that we can do. You put your brain or your time to other things that can improve the business itself.
Yeah, and I think that's an important, Xavier mentioned the wine experience, right? Being an important kind of like one that customers will have questions about, because it's, you don't always, how often do you go to San Francisco and go on a wine tour? It's a pretty unique experience. It's something cool that you're doing. You're going to upload pictures and everything. So you're, it's not a $15 experience either, right? You're going to pay for it, you're going to pay well for it. So, the cool thing is here that, Xavier is able to include, the different answers depending on the product, right? So one thing that I've seen a lot on the Tourpreneur Facebook group is, we get two concerns from operators very often about just chatbots and artificial intelligence and all of that, right? The first one is I find them annoying, and I agree. I usually find chatbots annoying, right? For American Airlines, but I always take their example, whenever I'm on the phone and they're click one or press one for this. And when you got to do the whole thing and then you're three options in and suddenly no, that was not the right path. I got to start from the beginning. And then at one point you're just agent, human,
yeah.
You're pressing 0, right? How do I get in touch with a real human? I think that's frustrating. I think that definitely, that's not good for the experience, right? We try to avoid that. So when we went into this, right, we could have gone the way of the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s. But what we decided instead was, we're gonna use natural language processing, basically, which is a term used for people, just the way that they would communicate with a real human. Let the customer ask the question the way that they would do it with a real human. And we're gonna use, the tools are out there, right, to respond to that question automatically. There are times that the statistic right now is that we can answer 4 out of every 5 questions customers have. But we see this often, Shane, travelers saying it's my wedding anniversary that Friday, and we're going on that wine tour. Can you please do something very special for that? And so, obviously the chatbot's not going to be able to answer that, right? In which case, we take them directly to like the place where they can say, hey, seems like I couldn't answer this question. I'm just a chatbot, but here's how you can get in touch with a real human, and then boom, the number. So like Xavier is in Pacific time, right? If someone's in New York and they're asking about this wine tour at like 8 a.m., it's 5 a.m. in San Francisco. So, he's probably not going to, or his team is not going to be able to respond right away. So customers can get answers whenever they want to, but if there's something special, they can still get that personal touch. And Xavier was saying, like, it's not like I want to lay off people, right? I mean, this is not about, it's about like, when someone comes to my second point, right? When someone says like, I don't want to lose the personal touch, don't. I mean, you can, by reducing some of like those, just frequent questions, right? You can spend more time with your customer, making their day more special, with those that need that special attention instead.
Well, I know many of our listeners are working, especially since COVID, working a day job and, the tour business in the evenings and weekends. So having that bot set up means that those questions are getting answered whilst they're at the day job.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not uncommon, right? I mean, it's like I said before, I mean, how many solopreneurs are out there, right? I mean, we would like to, keep that going, right? And that's the only point. But you gotta, at one point, you gotta think about efficiency too, right? And is responding to the meeting point, right? Like sending them the Google Maps location for the meeting point, like getting the personal touch. I personally don't think so. I think there's better ways to engage with them personally, and just trying to give them the time. Like we try to give operators back their time to do that.
And there is one point that I would like to bring up here as well, is at least talking more on a personal side rather than on a business point of view. I usually prefer to just not have to call anyone. So I hate as a customer, but I'm just one segment of the demographic. I don't like talking to people. I don't like having to spend that to dial. For me, it's a hard time. So if I can have two texts and just dealing with someone and make it easier on my own whenever I want, for me it's a more better customer experience than someone that wants just to have a conversation with a real human. I know that there are different segments in the demographic, but in this way, we are serving these ones. I mean, myself as a customer, I know that there's other people that wouldn't like the message. Okay, you still have all the way to do it. You just call me, and the line is going to be more available because there are going to be tons of questions that they already replied by myself. But if I only option.
Yeah, no, I agree. But Xavier is young, as you can tell, right? But you might know Al from Beaufort Tours, Shane.
Yeah.
He runs those tours, and they do golf cart tours in Beaufort. And, he was initially a little bit worried about, his demographic was a bit older, right? I was on the older end. And he said, like, I don't know if my customers are going to be okay with texting. Like, but, it turns out like, older people, like, well, because texting has been around for so long, everyone knows how to do it. Like, they don't need to learn something new. Like, it's not like we're telling them, go on this link to type your question. No. And I don't even know if they know they're chatting to a chatbot, right? They're just texting. They're just asking questions, right? But they're getting answers. And so I mean, it's for the younger demographic who knows what they're dealing with, right? They know that, they know they're chatting with like a chatbot, so they know what to expect. But like the older demographic too, I mean, they know how to use texting. I mean, they just know how to reply back. It's intuitive.
Yeah. No, I was not a fan of chatbots until fairly recently. And I even had a situation this week. I had to deal with GoDaddy. I'm having no ends of problems there. And I was 45 minutes on hold before I could get to speak to someone. And they didn't fix the issue. So I thought, I'm not spending another 45 minutes. So I got the chatbot, and I was able to get it fixed and I think once you have a good experience with a chatbot, then it's like, oh, okay, this is actually really cool. And it's going to save me time in the long run. And I now use that with my bank and other things as well. So, I mean, it depends on the setup of the chatbot, of course, and being helped. But I think more and more people are going to be using them.
It's more, and there is one thing that I've learned as well as a customer on using that. I don't like the chatbots either. So that's why I was kind of reluctant to use it. Even we are now trying to put one chatbot on the website as well, to try to figure out the situation. But then you realize it's not the system or the of the technology itself is how you nurture it. I mean, you
Yes.
need to spend time. So you cannot pretend that the chatbot knows all the particularities of your business from the beginning. So you need to feed the chatbot with all the answers. And you need to do some homework beforehand to make sure that that chatbot really works out in a way that you would like to. So that's the difficult part. But once you have sorted out and invested all those hours, I think that they are well invested there.
One of the things that I really like about your website, Daniel, is I'll put this in the show notes at tourpreneur.com/177. You have a features page, because I know there are going to be some listeners who are still like, I don't quite get it. I don't quite get how it's going to help my business. And I like how you lay out kind of the flow. So first of all, we've got 5 minutes after a booking comes in, the booker gets a guest confirmation. You've got here New York City tours. Hey, Taylor, thanks for booking the Statue of Liberty tour on February 15th at 11:30. We'd like to send you tips for your upcoming visit. To continue, say okay. And here we go into the whole permission side of thing. So I really like that you have the booking confirmation there. And then 2 days before the activity, and you say this is customizable, there are reminders and important information. So meeting points, for instance, it says here, remember that we will meet at Rolfo's Pizza Store in front of the harbor. And then also Taylor then says, the booker, is there parking available nearby? And the bot responds with, we recommend parking at Liberty Mall, which is 2 blocks away from the meeting point. So I understand now why this, when it's set up correctly, is saving so much time on customer service. You also have the option of sending safety measures and waivers.
Waivers are a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you mean?
So like waivers, I mean, like, and especially after COVID, I mean, almost every operator is using waivers these days. And so like,
sure.
But one of the issues sometimes is deliverability and like reaching or like having those customers actually sign those waivers, right? So, we're, some of our operators are using our text messages to like send them, hey, remember you need to sign your waiver before you come in, right? And so, obviously there's the benefit of getting that waiver signed in before and like the operational side of things and stuff. Obviously there's the real benefit of using waivers, which is getting the customer's contact information, right? Which we almost all know about, right? Which is part of the whole like marketing part of waivers, right? And so there's those two benefits, right? And then the third thing is potentially, and we just actually started doing this with Peak Pro waivers, but we're going to roll this out all the other different platforms. Is once, so like usually, right, we're reaching only to the lead traveler, right? So if there's a group of 30 people, right, who just booked them, we're reaching the lead traveler. That person could put in their credit card and put in their contact information. Different to what happens in airlines, right? When you go on TripAdvisor or get your guide, they don't ask for like the contact information for everyone because it's not good for the checkout process, right? But like, so we usually only reach the lead traveler, right? But once the customer, once they sign the waiver, right, it's usually all adults in that group who need to sign that. And so right now, one of the things that we're just about to announce is that we've got now integrations to Peak Pro's waivers, which means that we can reach that customer, ask that customer, like everyone in the group, to put out that review or send them those recommendations for other things to do. So, it's 3 times higher the amount of people you can reach, and therefore how many people you can get reviews from, basically. So yeah, reviews are a big deal for a lot of operators.
Yeah, and I also like, in these weird times we're in. Are we out with the pandemic? Are we still in it? It's kind of, depending where you are, that you can actually say, here's our policy, face masks must be worn. And I guess if someone has a problem with that, you can deal with it before they're at the meeting place saying, I'm not wearing a mask, and having that tension and conflict, you get rid of that beforehand. And I also like that opportunity that in your shoes, for instance, Xavier, if I had a walking tour in San Francisco and it's going to be raining tomorrow, you say, hey, bring a raincoat, bring an umbrella, we're still going, rain or shine, but, bring an umbrella, for instance, so that you're giving that information in advance as well. I like that.
Now that you mentioned, there is a cool feature as well on Daniel platform that you can send a broadcast message. So, and we use it twice. There was one day that we had a breakdown on one of our buses. We're in the middle of a wine tour. So as we had the manifest list of those passengers, we were able to send a message to all the customers, say, hey guys, we apologize, the bus broke down. We're about to send one in 1 hour. You're gonna have a complimentary drink in that winery, and we're gonna delay the schedule in that one.
Nice.
So instead of having to call everyone, and everyone received the message. In fact, the feedback that we received was amazing. I didn't even notice that the bus broke down, but I appreciate that you tell me. So thank you for being proactive and reaching out. These are things that if you have to reach one by one, it's difficult. We had the same situation 3 months before we landed TourOpp, and we did it one by one. I mean, the result was good, but we had to spend 2 hours just texting people instead of having to pick up the phone or doing other stuff.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. That coming in handy. So there's waivers and announcements that you can do, and then also we talked about this was cross-selling and upselling as well. On the various packages that you can send that out. And then
that broadcast message, Shane, sorry to interrupt there, but that broadcast message, since we're talking about cross-selling, that broadcast message, we tell customers, hey, use this for when the bus, breaks down, right? When you've got a situation, right? Whether that's beforehand, right? You were talking about weather, right? That's a big deal for a lot of operators. When they'll start seeing cancellations go up, whenever they start seeing rain, and they're like, is the tour going to run? Maybe I'm just going to cancel the tour. Like, I'm just going to cancel my booking. Cancellation policies are so flexible these days. You can cancel for free up to 24 hours, right? On any platform these days. And so clients are usually booking, and then they see oh, there's a storm coming up. Maybe I'm just going to cancel just in case, because I don't want to get into the whole give me a refund thing and stuff. But if you can reach out to those customers before and tell them, hey, we're looking at that forecast, right? And we're we're still gonna run the tour. And if not, we're gonna refund your money. Then you're the customer's like, okay, well, I've got some confirmation that if the tour doesn't run, I'm gonna be taken care of, right? But in relation to cross-selling, the other thing that is interesting about this broadcast message that Xavier just brought up is, how about you can use it also for potentially marketing opportunities. So let's say it's Halloween or St. Patrick's, which just happened, right? We've got an opportunity to reach out to everyone who's booked a tour with you on St. Patrick's Day and send them a text saying, hey, it's St. Patrick's Day, and you're in Chicago, and it's going to be a big deal. So we're agreeing, and we're going to have we're going to have special prices for you. So it's also a matter of engaging with on the marketing side of things. You can also be proactive. Yeah.
Excellent. Love the cross-selling, love the upselling. And then also you have here 1 hour into the activity, send messages asking customers to tag you on their pictures and videos, which I think is very smart.
Yeah, the social media part of things, right? So that's basically when this is not the most popular thing operators use these days. It really depends on type of activity you're running, right? So if you're Xavier, right, I probably recommend it because most of the times they're going to have coverage when they're on the tour. We've got some operators who are the person's just going to be, I don't know, snorkeling. They're not going to have their phones on it. But there's multiple opportunities there to even just send them hey, welcome. They're oh, well, they know I'm here, and here's the Wi-Fi password, and if you need one, and things like that, and then obviously engage with them on social media. Yeah.
And then, of course, following that, we have the, hey, leave us a review, which we covered in depth. So I direct all of our listeners to that page to spend a bit of time. Look, you've put a lot of time and effort into that page, and I think it certainly helped me understand the potentials and the possibilities with TourOpp much better than I had before. So I guess the important question, or the question that my listeners are demanding that I ask right now, is this all sounds great. How much does it cost, Daniel?
Well, it depends really on the amount of messages that you send, right? So it's on a usage basis, right? So we have plans that start at $90 per month, right? And obviously we have our ultimate plan who runs for $299. And so the only difference basically is how many messages you use, right? So on third plan, you get 2,500 messages. On the ultimate plan, you get 10,000 messages, right? That sounds like a lot of messages, right? It's like 2,500 messages for a small operator. Well, between the back and forth, right, of the engagement and the conversation, right, and it's, Xavier can tell you this, right? It's on target. Most of our operators will end up sending and receiving, right, about 10 messages per booking, right? That's kind of like so if you've got anywhere until like 250 bookings, you can go with starter plan, right? Because you've got 500 messages.
Yeah. Xavier, to any of our listeners who are like, ooh, $90, that's quite expensive because they're solopreneurs, what would you say to them right now?
Well, I don't know what is their net per booking, but it's easy to come up with a break-even here. So, I know that I'm in the San Francisco market, which is quite expensive, but my net price per customer is around $90. So either if I get a booking a month that we can consider is additional to the business, so was able to get from cross-selling, that tool gets paid. I think it's just a matter of testing it. He's not asking, as far as I know, for any commitment. I think that it's a month to month. If you want to go in that way, just test it out.
Yeah, the offer is maybe the money back guarantee. So, we really want to have we really want to say, put our actions where our mouths are. And so if you're not satisfied, if this doesn't work for you, in the first 30 days, then we'll give you your money back, right? But we are big numbers people, Shane. And so, obviously adding one more expense for not just small operators, but even big operators who just went through a pandemic, it's hard, right? You got to think about every penny, right? Because you're paying for debt, you're paying for a lot of things, right? What we like to think about is ROI, right? And so right after the first month they got in, we send them that report and we tell them, this is how much you saved on customer service. This is how much, this is how much you got through cross-selling. And therefore the ROI, we had expected our Xavier's ROI to be about $1,200 at initial, right? And it turned out to be higher, right? But, we, and so I think in that regard, it's just like anything, it would be more of an investment, right? We like to think that this not only pays for itself, but we can actually get more revenue out of it. So, one time someone said you're just like other rested companies who say that they're going to get us more bookings, right? And I was like, well, I can prove it because we can track how many bookings you're going to get as a result of this. Not like we're going to get other customers as a result. You're maximizing the amount of revenue to get out of every booking. That's initially what we're doing. So it's all about ROI for us. And yeah, like Xavier said, we're happy to bring people on board and just have it tried.
Yeah, absolutely. Where should people go if they want to sign up or get more information on TourOpp?
Yeah, go .touropp.com, or even if you just type TourOpp.com. TourOpp.com used to be the OTA website, but just so that we're clear, we're no longer an OTA. We've shut down that business because we wanted to focus on the TourOpp Go side. So if you want to go on TourOpp.com, right? There's multiple options there. You can just go in and sign up, and that's it, right? Or you can just schedule a demo, right? And we'll show you the ins and outs, and we like to do that. We also offer a lot of times people are concerned a little bit about timing, right? And this all sounds great, right? I get it why this is an investment and everything, but I'm busy, right? So we offer an account build, right? And so we'll, obviously there's things that you're going to need to check, just like Xavier said, you're going to need to do your homework, right? But you're not going to be trained the chatbot for something, right? We've already done that for you, right? So you're not going to have to train the specific phrases of what's included, right? We've already done that for you. And we're going to go to your website and take that question, right? What's included, and add it for you, basically.
Yeah.
And then you're going to need to check if that makes sense, right? And, go through that product by product and all that stuff. But we're going to initially build the account for you. So when it comes to timing, Xavier, I don't know, it was about 2 weeks with you from the moment that you signed up until the moment we went live. And we've had customers go live in 4 days. I feel like sometimes people think about it as like when I'm changing rest, it's such a difficult process to do that they compare it to that, and it's definitely not as hard. Sorry, Xavier, I was thinking you were going to say something.
I was about to share something that I did when I don't know if the other client did it in that way, but I felt that it was the right way to do it on my team. That we started, instead of going one off for all the products, I started with one. So I tested out. I did all, pretty meticulous with all the information. On our case, we started with a wine tour. It's one of our most popular, the more driven, and it's pretty straightforward. There's only two departures, it's just one departure time. So the information is pretty established already. So we went through that process to make sure that the flow with the customers that we had for the wine tour was working well. We tested for about 1 week or 2 weeks. When it worked out, I just rolled out for the rest of the tours. And the last point I would like to bring up here is that, they need to put the effort there. I was on the opinion as well that it takes time. No one is going to write down the products, and you should not expect and I think that any tour operator should allow anyone to write down the specs of their product, because at the end, what I like to explain is this is like you were talking to customers, so you need to do it yourself. Of course, it takes time. You need to buy your time from whatever else, but it's gonna pay off. And if you don't do this homework beforehand, then you should not expect that the technology solves the situation by itself. Because if the information is wrong, the customer journey is wrong by itself.
Well, and that's why I'm so pleased you're with us today, Xavier, because it's important you're sharing the information as a tourpreneur yourself among your peers. And again, having you on the show, sharing us how this works in the real world is so important. And those 4 benefits, I can see why, you're getting that kind of ROI. So thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find out more about your tours?
Well, it's a pretty straightforward website. It's greylineofsanfrancisco.com.
Greylinesanfrancisco.com.
Greylineofsanfrancisco.com. Yeah.
Brilliant. I will also add that to the show notes. And I'm intrigued by your story. I'd love to invite you on a future episode to find out how you got started with your tour business, Xavier.
Well, I'm happy to come here anytime, and I would like to spend my story. My background is it's not even related to the tourism. I landed in the tourism industry in 2016, and before I'm civil engineer as a degree, as major. And before that, I was selling bridges in the Middle East. So
right, we definitely have to get you on to find out more. And so the one thing I love about our industry is most of us don't come from the tour industry. We all have other careers, and then we end up here because, as Daniel alluded to, most of us are not in this to become millionaires. As much as we would enjoy that, it's because we have that passion. Daniel, thanks for coming on the show today and being available for our questions. I know you are a frequent contributor to our Tourpreneur community, and I'm hoping that today's episode has answered a lot of questions that are out there. And as I say at the start of the show, this is not a sponsored ad. This is completely free. Tourpreneur doesn't make any money out of this. I just want to share tools, tech, and apps that will make our lives easier and grow our business. So thank you very much for joining.
I appreciate you having us, Shane.
Thanks for listening to the Tourpreneur podcast. Be sure to visit tourpreneur.com to join the conversation and access the show notes, including links to the resources mentioned on today's episode. This is Tourpreneur.